again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we're going to be doing a little bit of knitting. Yes, this project here is a side-to-side knit shawlette or neck scarf, depending upon how you want to wear it. And it is so easy and it works up pretty darn fast. Now, unlike most shawls that I have a tendency of doing, they start from the top edge, the neckline, and they work down in sort of a V formation, or from the bottom up, going back, forth, back, forth, back, forth in rows. Now this one actually is done from tip to tip. So you actually start from here at a rather narrow end, and you keep increasing slowly but surely until you get the width that you want at the middle, which is which is right about here. And then once you reach the middle point, then you start decreasing as you go until you reach the opposite end. It has a gorgeous taper to it, and also you can make adjustments if that is your thing. Now, you could go about this in a different route than I did. I wanted to go for a nice sort of skinny shawlette neck scarf kind of formation for a long and skinny triangle. You can, however, do your increasing at a more constant rate and create something that goes further down the back. Either way, it's totally cool, and I will go into that in a bit. Now, for this particular project, because I love this particular colorway, this is the Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the, I believe it's like the spring green colorway. I don't remember the exact name. And I didn't even use an entire skein for this project. I still have this much left over. Yes. And today, for today's piece, I'm going to be using some of their Anemone colorway, same yarn. It's a worsted weight of 4, and because I wanted this to have a really nice drape to it, I used size 11 8mm knitting needles. Also, another really cool thing about this project is that because the maximum number of stitches that you have on your needle at any given point is the center, the widest part of your piece, you can technically do this on straight knitting needles. You don't necessarily need circulars, so that's a nice extra bonus. Also, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the actual knitting, if you have like 1 or 2 skeins of yarn and you are determined to use all of your yardage, what you can do if you have 2 skeins of yarn, well, you can use the first skein for the increase and then the second skein for the decrease. If you only have 1 skein, what you can do is weigh your skein to see exactly how much it is, and then start knitting along. And then when you think that you might be at about the halfway point, weigh it again to make sure that you did in fact use half of the yarn, then start your decrease. I do hope that that makes sense. So, at any rate, without further ado, let's get started. All right. Okie dokie. So, first things first, we are going to start with our cast on. And because we have so few stitches for our cast on, I'm going to show you how I like to do my knitted cast on. And so, starting off with our typical slip knot, right on there. And we're going to do a total of 6 stitches for our cast on. It's really, really, really quite simple. So going in as if to knit. And be sure that you're using the long end, not the tail end when you're doing this. So going in as if to knit and pull up a loop. Pull out that loop, going in through the back, and cinch down. That's a total of 2 stitches. And then going in again, as if to knit, yarn around, pull up a loop, going in through the back and cinch, going in again. And we only need 6 stitches total, so figure I'll do this. I do also have a video on how to do the knitted cast on. It is my preferred cast on for a lot of my knitted projects. And there we go. All right, so we have our 6 stitches, and we shall get started. All right, so rows 1 and rows 2, very, very simple. Just knitting, yes, very simple. And then we will get started in with the actual patterning. And what I really like about it is that it creates eyelets on the top edge as well as the bottom edge. So it is rather attractive and decorative. So just knit all of your stitches across, and then we're going to turn and knit all the stitches back. And this gives you a nice foundation to work within, because if you go right in to doing sort of lace work right after the cast on, it can get a little muddy. It can be a little bit tricky. So this is a nice way to sort of prime your stitches. So just going in again with a row of knit stitches. And the whole thing is essentially garter stitch. So this is not going to, it's not going to curl at all, which is a beautiful thing. And there we go. Last stitch. And there you have it. So that's the first 2 rows. And you can tighten that up a little bit. And there we go. So now we are all set for the eyelets. So let's get on to row 3. All right, so row 3, we're going to start in with our eyelets. And the thing about eyelets, it's that when you create an eyelet, you are creating a stitch. Now, we only technically want to create an increase on one side. It's going to be the far side. And at the beginning, we are going to create an eyelet, but we're going to be doing a decrease to compensate. And this will make more sense as we go on. So first things first, knit the 2 first stitches. And that's going to create sort of a border. So knit 2 stitches. Then yarn over. We're going to be creating an eyelet. So around the back, yarn over. Then, because we did a yarn over, an increase, we need to then do a decrease immediately thereafter. So we're going to do a slip knit pass for these next 2 stitches. So slip the next stitch as if to knit, then knit the next stitch. So knit that stitch, and then slip this stitch over the needle. So we're doing a slip knit pass. So we're passing it up and over and off of the needle. So that is our slip knit pass. Then we've reached the last 2 stitches on the left needle. So yarn over again, and then knit the last 2 stitches. And that is our eyelet row. Now the next 3 rows, rows 4, 5, and 6, just knit stitches. Now, what I was saying before about having your piece grow further down the back, to have a wider piece, what you could do is, instead of doing 3 rows of just knit stitches, just do 1 row. and then you're going to be doing another eyelet row. We're going to be doing 3 rows because I want this to be a long tapered piece, and that the rate of increase will be stretched out. So it's an increase row every 4th row. If, however, you want to have a more regular increase, it's every other row. So I'm just going to do the 3 rows of regular knitting, and then we will do another increase row. So it's really up to you as far as the shape of your finished piece. If you want it to be more long and skinny, do 3 rows. If you want it to be fatter and longer down your back, well, every other row, because you're going to have a more rapid rate of increasing. Either way, totally fine and totally up to you. So that was the 1 row. Then we'll do another. And once you get into the groove with this particular, this pattern, you can totally go on autopilot. Okay, that's 2 rows, 1 more row. Okie doke, almost there. And there we go. All right, so that is 3 rows of just doing knit stitches. And so you can see our 2 eyelets right here and here. And then what I found to be a great way of determining, did you go far enough as far as the number of rows? Well, this is the tail on my left because I did the knitted cast on. If, however, you did a long tail cast on, the cast on would be on your right. And you can see because we're doing the garter stitch, I have a bump here and then a bump here. You need 2 bumps after your eyelet, and then you are good to go. Another thing that you can do is use a stitch marker. Just put it into one side to determine which is your right side. Personally, I don't like using them. So that being said, it is now time for the next of our eyelet rows. Alrighty. Okay, so for row 7, the next eyelet row, we're going to be following suit with what we did earlier. So you knit the first 2 stitches. Then you need your eyelet, so yarn over, and then you need to decrease. So it's a slip, knit, pass. Slip the next stitch, knit the one after that, and pass the slip stitch up, over, and off. And then we knit to the last 2 stitches, and the last increase row, we increased 1 stitch with that eyelet. So we're going to knit that stitch, and then yarn over, and then knit the last 2 stitches. Okay, so then rows 8, 9, and 10, it's just knit, knit, knit. And so I'm going to knit those 3 rows, and then I will do another eyelet row for you, and I will be right back. Okay, so I knit the last 3 rows, and we are essentially going to be repeating row 7 through 10 over and over and over ad infinitum. And so, as you can see, we have our eyelets once again, and the 2 bumps, and my tail is on the left once again. Now, it may not seem readily apparent at this moment, but on this right side edge, it's going to remain vertical. It's not angled at all. The left side edge, though, over time, you will notice that it will taper to the left there, because we're increasing on this side. This side we are not increasing because after every eyelet we do a decrease. On this side we're just doing an increase with that yarn over, so that is what allows it to taper and grow to the side. So let's do another eyelet row together. And so again, as we did previously, it's going to be knitting the first 2 stitches. And then yarn over, and then slip knit pass. So slip stitch as if to knit, knit the next one, and then pass the slip stitch up, over, and off of your needle. That's your decrease. Then knit to the last 2 stitches. So right now we're going to be knitting 2 stitches. And every increase row, every eyelet row, it's going to be 1 more stitch than the last time. So it's a very, very slow increase. So yarn over, since we reached the last 2 stitches, you're yarning over and then knit those last 2 stitches. And it's really that easy. There we are. So that was row 7, for the repeat, and then we will do 8, 9, and 10, just knitting the stitches as we go, and I will meet back up with you for yet another of our increase rows. I really want to make sure to be thorough and that you guys really get it. So I will meet back up with you after I knit another 3 rows, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, so I knit the last 3 rows. We're back to row 7, the eyelet row for the repeat. So going to do this again. Going to knit those first 2 stitches. Like so. Then yarn over. Do a slip knit pass. So slip that next stitch. Knit the one after. And then pass that slip stitch up, over, and off, like so. Then knit to the last 2 stitches. So we're going to be knitting those 3, and then we're going to do another yarn over. So knit 3 stitches. One, 2, 3. All right, so we knit to the last 2 stitches. So again, yarn over and knit those last 2. And that's really all that you need to do for the first half of your neck scarf / shawlette, either way, So going to knit the next 3 rows and then do another repeat of row 7. So it's just, back, forth, with your knit rows, and then an eyelet row every 4th row. So as you keep going, your piece will taper out to the side. Like I said before, on the one side, it will remain completely straight up and down, but the other side, it will continue to grow slowly but surely. And that's really all you have to do as far as the increasing element of your scarf. So what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to do a couple more of the increase rows and my knit rows in between. And then I'm going to show you how you can start doing the decreasing for the second half of your piece. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so now in essence, we are ready for row number 11. After, doing repeat of rows 7 through 10, your piece should, start to, keep tapering outwards. And so this is, as you can see, our increase side, and this is the non-increase side. Well, for row 11, we're going to start in on our decreasing. Now, I did my eyelets, and then I did my 3 rows, so you can see the 2 bumps. And so, yeah, you would just keep going until you're ready for the decrease. So let's say that we are now at the point where we're ready to decrease. Obviously, this is not finished. This is, a demo piece. So to start doing your decreasing, it's going to start off very, very similar by doing 2 knit stitches to begin with, just like we had been doing previously. So knit the first 2, nothing new there. Yarn over, slip knit pass, again, nothing new. So yarn over, slip, and knit, and pass that slip stitch up, over, and off. Now, because we are no longer increasing, when we reach the very, very end, we still need an eyelet so that we have eyelets, around the entire perimeter of our piece. We still need an eyelet, which means that we need to do a double decrease because we need to decrease the total number of stitches and we need to compensate for that eyelet. So going to knit until the last 5 stitches. So we've got 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to knit the next 4 stitches here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we've reached the last 5 stitches. Okay, so now we're going to be doing a double decrease, which is slipping 2 stitches, knitting a stitch, and then passing those 2 slip stitches up, over, and off. It's really not that bad, and I'm going to show you nice and closely, and I'm going to do this a couple times for you. So slipping the next 2 stitches. There are a million ways of doing this. I like to slip them both knitwise. So slip, and then slip the next one, and then knit that 3rd stitch, knit that 3rd stitch, and then these 2 slipped stitches that we did, we're going to pass them up, over, and off. I find it's easier if you do them one at a time. So pass that stitch up, over, and off, and then the next one up, over, and off. So we now decreased 2 stitches, and because we need that eyelet at the end, yarn over and knit the last 2 stitches. Now again, the reason why we do a double decrease is because we still need that eyelet. So one of the decreases is to compensate for that eyelet, just like we do on the right side. The other decrease is because we are doing a decrease of the overall number of stitches. So that's why we're decreasing twice and still maintaining our eyelet. So that being said, I'm going to, as per usual, I'm going to knit the next 3 rows, and then we'll do another decrease row together. I'm going to do a couple of them. So I'll see you in a bit. All right, so I finished knitting my 3 rows. Now, right here is sort of the bottom point that will be, towards the base of your back. This will be the bottom point. It's very, very subtle. It's not a sharp point, and it'll become more pronounced as this side starts to taper. So let's do another decrease row. So again, knit those first 2 stitches. Yarn over, slip knit pass, so slip the stitch, knit the next one, and then pass that slip stitch up, over, and off. There we go. Then knit to the last 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just need to knit 3 stitches, and then we will do our double decrease. Now, the reason why I'm being very, very thorough is because I know how intimidating knitting can be. I was there myself, and I would rather be nice and thorough. So we're down to the last 5 stitches, so we slip the next 2 stitches. So slip, and then slip, knit the next stitch. I like to sort of separate them out a little bit. So knit that next stitch, and then pass over your slip stitches. So pass that over the knit stitch, and then the next one, pass it on over, and then we still need our eyelet. So yarn over, and then knit the last 2 stitches. And then, as per usual, I'm going to knit the next 3 rows, and we will continue. Now, the decreasing involved, it works pretty well up into a point, and then when we get to, near the very end, it can be a little bit weird because you need that 5 stitches at the end. We started off with a total of 6 stitches. I managed to get it down to about 7. Not 6, but you'll see what I mean when we get there. So I'm going to knit the next 3 rows, and then we'll do another decrease row together, and I will see you shortly. All right, so let's keep tooling along here. I did my 3 knit rows. I'm going to do another decrease row. So again, knit 2, yarn over, slip, knit, and pass. There we go. And then need to knit to the last 5 stitches. So I only need to knit 2 stitches at this point. It's 1 and 2. Then slip the next 2 stitches. Knit the next one. And then pass those stitches up, over, and off. There we go. Yarn over, and knit the last 2 stitches. Okay, and then we knit the next 3 rows, and we are getting down to the sort of nitty-gritty. So I'm just going to do this on camera. Besides, I like spending time with you guys. I like being thorough, and I like spending time with you. Because, I mean, I've been knitting now for, roughly 20-ish years. And I remember when I was extremely terrified of learning new knit stitches and so forth. I was, especially anything to do with lace. If it was a knit stitch or a purl stitch, no increases, no decreases. Hey, I was hunky-dory. But adding in other elements, yes, I was terrified. And eventually, I lost that fear. I just decided, you know what? I'm going to give my fear the day off, and I'm just going to go for it. And granted, there was a lot of trial and error, and a lot more error, and a lot of frogging, and eventually, I started learning how the stitches work together. And there was a book that I had read called Crazy Lace, and I've made reference to it before a couple of times, and it inspired me, quite frankly, to really get into working with lace and techniques for increasing and decreasing and so forth, and how they work together. And for those of you that aren't familiar, I did do a sort of random mystery lace project where I just created the lace as I went. There was no order, no rhyme, nor reason, but I created an entire piece with lace that was just made up on the fly. It is something that you can do, but it does require an understanding of the stitches, and that's why I was stressing the points of, when you create an eyelet, you need to have a decrease next to it, otherwise it's going to change the shape of your piece. I do hope that that makes sense. So at any rate, that was the 3 rows. Now let's do another decrease row. I mean, we're getting there. So knit those 2 first stitches. And then yarn over and slip knit pass. So slip and knit and pass. There we go. Then knit to the last 5. Well, we only have 6 left, so just knit 1. Okay, and then slip, slip, and knit, and then pass those 2 slip stitches up, over, and off. There we go. Yarn over and knit those last 2 stitches. Okay. So we are really getting there. I'm going to knit the next 3 rows off camera, and we shall continue. Okie dokie. Okay, so I just finished knitting those 3 rows, and now, yeah, we are getting there. We are. So as per usual, knit those first 2 stitches. And yarn over and slip knit pass, slip, and oop, come on, my cord is being difficult. There we go. Knit and pass. There we go. Okay, so we got those taken care of. All right, and then, well, we already have reached our last 5, so slip the next 2 stitches, slip, and slip, knit the next one, and then pass those 2 slip stitches up, over, and off. Yarn over and knit the last 2 stitches. All right. Excuse me. And then knit 3 rows. And let's see. So I'm down to a total of 8 stitches. So I can definitely do another decrease row. But after that, it's kind of tricky, as I mentioned before. As far as the decreasing is concerned. I'm sure that there are other ways of doing it, but the difference between starting with 6 and ending with 7, it's really not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But I try to get it, as good as I can, So there's that. And then 2 more rows. As far as what kind of yarn to use, you guys, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that I love the Red Heart Ombre because the colorways are gorgeous. I think that this would be a really great project for those of you that have, like 1 skein of yarn that you've been saving for a rainy day, and you've been wondering, what do I do with this single skein of yarn? Well, this is an awesome project. All right, and then 1 more row. We are totally getting there. Okie dokie, just a few more. Okay, so then we are going to decrease once again as soon as I'm done with this last stitch. Turning my work. Okay, so right now we have a total of 8. So again, knit those first 2 stitches. Knit and knit. Yarn over and slip knit pass. So slip and knit and there we go, pass. There we go. Okay, so at this point, I only have a total of 4 stitches. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip the next stitch. It would have been slip 2. Well, I'm just going to slip 1. So slip 1, like so. Then knit the next stitch. And then I'm going to pass the 2 stitches off like we had done previously. So up, over, and off. And then that stitch that we did before, going to just get in there and up, over, and off. There we go. So that's our double decrease. Then yarn over and knit the last 2 stitches. So that's why I decided to do all of that on camera, because it's like, yeah, that's kind of fiddly. So yes, at this point, I have a total of 7 stitches, and for my standards, it's totally fine. So we are just about ready for the bind off. Now, so what I'm going to do is, instead of 3 rows, I'm going to do 2 rows and then the bind off row. Now, this is my personal preferred way of doing this. If you have another method, by all means, go right ahead. I am not the arbitrator of what is or is not acceptable. This is your knitted piece. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what it is that I do, and then you can jump off from there by all means. So we've got 1 finished row. We're going to do another row, and then we will do our bind off. Really that simple. There we go. Just 2 more. Do. All right, and then we will do our bind off. All right. Okay, so for the bind off, it's going to be very, very simple. Going to knit a stitch, knit another stitch, and then going in through the front of those loops with your left needle, going to knit those 2 together. And voila. Knit another stitch. And then again, going in through the front with your left needle, knit those 2 together. Okay, and that's how we're going to proceed with the rest of our stitches. It's really simple. There we go. Knit another stitch, then through the front, knit these 2 together, and off. Just 2 more. There we go, and then 1 more. Through that front loop, and knit them together. And there you go. And then you can pull this loop out, cut your yarn, and sew in your ends. So I know this is a small example, but you can see the shaping where this is the top of the neckline, and then down here is where it would hang down on your back. And there you go. I know that I could have just explained, all right, this is how you do the increase row, this is how you do the decrease row, but I wanted to be a bit more thorough because I know that knitting can be a little bit more daunting than crocheting, so I want it to be thorough, and I hope you guys can appreciate that. So there you go, the side-to-side neck scarf / shawlette. Ta-da! Alrighty, my dears, so that's going to conclude today's tutorial on the knitted side-to-side shawlette neck scarf. And as always, I really hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did like today's video, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation as always. And in the comments section, please tell me, what are you going to do with this particular pattern? What sorts of yarns, what sorts of colors? Always interested for your feedback and your input and a glimpse of your creative inspirations. Yes. So until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.